Hello and welcome. I'm John Petz, your host and your tour guide for today's inaugural episode of MEF's Infinite Edge series. You and I are going to be exploring the digital transformation together over the coming months, a transformation that is well underway in virtually every industry in the world. From online shopping to the Zoom craze, 5G, and even autonomous vehicles, digital transformation has become our industry's defining buzzword, impacting your business, your workday, and even your personal life. And digital transformation is the focus of this, our first episode. Now, make no mistake, this is a show for you, but I am not alone. I have got the brilliant Matt McGain with me, all the way from the land of crocs, sharks, and funnel web spiders. That's right, he is down under in Australia. Matt, say hello.
G'day, John. And yes, he made me say that.
G'day, Matt. It is so good to see you and have you be a part of the program. So everyone, Matt is here as our visual commentator, and Matt will be participating throughout the show and visually narrating the episode. And we get to check on him throughout to get his take. In fact, I say we kind of give it a whirl right now and see how things are going. So Matt, this is to you. What do you think? Are you ready?
Sure.
I'm going to throw you a big one. Can you draw digital transformation?
Let me see.
I don't know what that entails of what circles or triangles or how you even brainstorm that, but it's going to be awesome. I can tell. Look forward to seeing it. I'll tell you what, we'll check back. So while Matt is drawing, let me tell you about our platform as we want you to get involved. It provides a number of ways to connect with our amazing sponsors as well as other attendees. See the navigation bar on the left? You can visit the sponsors, join one of their roundtables, and have a live chat. Plus, roundtables can be accessed by clicking the Meet My Peers. You can start a roundtable, you can join one, see ones that are available from others, and even our sponsors. You can also go to the networking area and connect with attendees and even record short videos using the soapbox feature. Just click the record button. It's awesome. Now, I also want to point out to you the engagement buttons just off the bottom right side of your screen. Use these buttons to let us know how you feel about the experience. Please be sure to let us know if you like something that you see. And I encourage you to stay after the episode for some of the mingling. Show up early before our next one in February for even more. Okay, now for full disclosure, our segments today were pre-recorded, but many of our guests will be live and online during their segment, scanning the chat window and even interacting with you directly. Tell you, speaking of directly, let's go directly back down under to Matt. Hey, Matt, you still with me? I didn't give you too much time to draw and get ideas, but what do you have to share?
Well, I just thought about the paper turning into like ones and zeros. That's the first thing that came to mind for digital transformation for me.
Matt, thank you so much for sharing. That is awesome. And I wish I had some of that artistic talent. I don't know how you put that together so quick. Well, now it's time. Let's get this show on the road. Recently, MEF President Chen sat down with Marc Halbfinger, Chief Executive Officer of PCCW Global, to discuss his perspective on facing and embracing the business disruption that we're experiencing as a result of our digital transformation. Let's have a look.
Hey, Mark, welcome to Infinite Edge.
Thanks very much.
Good seeing you.
It's good to see you. Last time we were in your kitchen, we enjoyed a good glass of wine, I recall.
That's right. We should soon do that again.
I hope so.
I
hope so.
All right. Let me dive into some of the questions we wanted to ask you. What the factors determine winners in the increasingly virtualized economy?
Well, I think anytime there's economic shift, any book on economics, and I have one or two behind me, will tell you that there's always going to be winners and losers. And I think that in today's digital transformative world, The winners are those that will behave with some form of structured agility in order to assure that whatever infrastructure is being delivered in the ICT ecosystem, it's being done so with technological innovation, hopefully with automation, which makes use cases easier to develop. I think that the challenge, frankly, in the new world is complexity of the ICT ecosystem. And I think that we as an industry are still grappling with that transformation from simple linear use cases to complex ecosystem environments. And those that won't be able to grapple with that future world may stumble or struggle, hopefully won't fall. Those that grasp it early will fund both the infrastructure and the software that's necessary to drive it. I think will succeed.
Yeah, that makes sense. From your perspective, what's some of the mega trends shaping the digital transformation?
Well, I think the mega trend at the moment is the pandemic in and of itself, which is really reshaping the way people think about work, the way enterprises organize their networks. And I think that this was drama that we've been living through in 2020 and probably will continue for some time in 2021. It's reshaping people's approach to biohealth, to transportation, to food and beverage, to all sorts of different types of enterprise verticals that we focus upon. But it's also changing the way we look at networks. Couple that with the fact that software is moving at a dramatic pace. We're moving to container-based applications increasingly, AI and quantum now also starting to take shape in the not too distant horizon. All of that with technological infrastructure being well funded by the finance world, particularly around clouds, data centers, applications. I think all of these things are really driving things at a tremendous trajectory while everyone is still sitting at home. 5G and network slicing is going to be impacting networks, and I think what MEF is doing in that space is exciting. Security, I think, is also impacting because of the pandemic, but also because of all the technological advance. And last, I think what's shaping the global economy is, frankly, geopolitics. And that's a complex story, but it will also affect the way we organize digital infrastructure around identity and security going forward.
As a CEO of major global carrier yourself, and I know you've been on a journey to becoming a digital service provider many years ago. And could you give us an update on how PCCW Global has been transforming?
Yeah, I think. Thanks for allowing me the moment to give a bit of a commercial, but I'll try and do that within the context of what I think the MEF members want to hear, which is what is the organizational framework for driving transformation? And what we've tried to say is, number one, we believe that the industry needs to shape common information models, which I believe MEF is contributing to aggressively. And within the context of those information models, organizations need to transform themselves, and each one needs to try and move ahead at a slightly faster pace than the next. We need to make sure that we're aware not just of network-to-network relationships, but that we're clear on the interdependencies of the complex ICT ecosystem. That means clouds, mobile operators, fixed network operators, data centers, applications, wherever they may be, and to figure out how we interoperate and interconnect both physically and through the virtual world. And most importantly, which is something I've always advocated, I think, is to make sure that we understand how we're going to be settling for services for end users in and across that ecosystem, whether it be on rev share or wholesale settlement or some sort of joint go-to-market approach that gives users ubiquity and availability of as much of the ICT ecosystem that has to offer. And in our environment, we've taken the view that we are focused on physical infrastructure, but we believe it's critical to fuel that with technology, to fuel that with code. And we've needed to orchestrate not just the network, but orchestrate the way we work so that there's a common language in our organization between the physical domain and the software-based virtual domain. Paul Gamp, our Chief Technology Officer, who joined us when we acquired Console Connect 3 years ago, has helped lead our entire company to a transformation through a methodology known as SAFE, Scaled Agile Framework. And the entire organization has been trained up in that over the last 3 years. We've really migrated everything that we do around agile release trains at the back end, and it's allowed us to launch exciting, innovative services. It's allowed us to organize our network smartly, and it's allowed us to really deliver value to end users, and we believe also value ultimately into the interconnected complex ecosystem.
That's great. I think obviously you guys share our vision of global networking federation, and you're among the first group of providers implementing LSO Sonata APIs for inter-carrier service automations. So in terms of what you guys had done in that particular area, do you feel that this would ultimately benefit to customers when you have end-to-end connectivity, between, say, PCCW Global and around the carriers in MEF?
Well, we from day one, we've contributed to MEF. We believe in MEF. I think Frederick Chui, the Chief Commercial Officer of PCCW Global, is on the board of MEF, and he really gives a lot of his gusto, and many of our team are involved in making sure that we're there. And I studiously read some of the documents that come through, the 322 pages of MEF-61 on internet access and MEF-55, which I think was a critical one, which we went to in terms of facilitating the LSO and Sonata and so on. I think that we've also offered up a lot of comments on where we believe the distributed ledger environment and the commercial attributes work group needs to go. We're big believers in everything that's happening in MEF. And yes, we believe in elements of federation as you describe them, but we're also moving ahead as quickly as possible and frankly doing our best not to wait and hopefully to lead. We've studied, for instance, MEF-61 or 61.1, I forget what the exact number is on the IP side, and we have this week, this coming Tuesday, we'll be launching Internet on Demand. And that means a layer 3 internet service, complete AS, available on an on-demand basis to users. We think this is going to be critically important for enterprises, for other service providers. We believe that it is clearly within the roadmap that MEF has architected with regard to federation. As you know, we've championed that for many years, and we believe that there may be some arguments down the way, but we're all in.
Marc, I have to, my heads off to you, right? I don't know if a lot of the CEOs of any corporation can recite MEF specifications.
I didn't say I could recite it. I just say I read it. I don't know if I could recite it. That's another story altogether.
Well, the title is pretty impressive.
But listen, it's on us, right? It's on us from the leadership down. If we're not willing to roll up our sleeves and figure out the complexity and how we pave a way for our teams internally in our organizations and yet also interoperate, if we're not going to study the information, how are we going to be able to architect a leadership role in order to move people, organizations, in order to contribute and build a better ICT ecosystem? That I think is quite necessary to do. And if there's leadership individuals who are listening to this who haven't taken a look at the work that MEF has done, I think it's important that everyone takes time out once every couple of months, at least before the MEF quarterly review boards, to say, okay, where do we stand with MEF? Guys, what have you been doing? Does this align with our strategy? Are our products going where MEF is saying that we should be going? If leadership teams in all of the companies can do that, I think we would align and perhaps move even faster as an industry.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. That's well said. You guys always been a leader in many aspects of ICT. Specifically related to MEF, it's about certification. You're actually in APAC region. You're the first both SD-WAN and carrier test certified service providers, and also among one of the first SD-WAN services certification in the world. And how important is it for companies, from your perspective, to align to industry standards, and how do you see customer benefiting from certified services and technologies?
Well, we're big believers in the certification process, first of all, because we want to assure that our own colleagues are trained and staying up to date. And certification is sort of a manner of self-discipline to assure constant and rigorous education. We do that, by the way, not just for MEF. We do it for all of the clouds. We have our colleagues certified to Azure, to GCP, to AWS, to IBM Cloud, to Ali Cloud, and so on. We believe that that's necessary. We have our colleagues certified to security standards and various ISO requirements and so on. And we believe that certification needs to be a methodical, studied approach. We have a training group inside PCCW Global that assures that colleagues are trained and certified on a consistent basis. And we think that everything that MEF is doing in that space is critical. Having a network that's certified according to the standards which the industry agrees to gives confidence ultimately to the users of those networks. And I think that what you're doing in that regard, what MEF is doing in that regard, is frankly a service not just to the industry, but to the users of the services in the industry. And that I think is quite important. And we salute you, and we will continue down that road. And by the way, I just want to say, we're not just an APAC region, our certification is global.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Thank you for being complimentary to what we're doing, and working with you has always been a pleasure. Security is top of the mind today. And, really, how do you categorize the discussion you had with the customers in terms of a requirement to security?
From our point of view, we look at security holistically. Quite frankly, in today's world where there are state actors and a large effort, even a criminal effort and fraudulent efforts for various reasons, and just error sometimes in network design and network management, security is quite critical, and there are many roads and approaches to it. We take a look at things very clearly, again, in a holistic manner. Number one, we have our transmission network. We have our IP backbone, AS3491, that sits on top of that transmission and expands beyond it. We have network-to-network interconnect relations governed by MEF framework arrangements with many service providers around the world, over 150. And most importantly, in the last 3 years, we've consistently developed and penetrated over 400 data centers now with the Console Connect software-defined network fabric. Each one of those introduces various issues of security, and our users want them. And now that we're launching Internet on Demand through the Console Connect software-defined fabric, combining the fabric with the network, which has never been done before, security was top of mind over there. But to say that everything is 100% secure, that would be perhaps a misnomer and misleading. What's necessary is to have a complete holistic framework around security. For that purpose, we have security operations centers located at different parts of the globe. Those security professionals are available monitoring security for us on a 24/7 basis. They're willing to work together with users and with others. And we found also that there are various security vendors that are eager to use either our IP backbone or our fabric. Examples might be Ali Cloud's anti-DDoS system or Cloudflare's activities that work through our fabric. I think that those are examples, but we are looking at every element of security that we can to work with as many security vendors as possible to create an envelope of feeling of secure relationships in managing security for our end users. I think that's the most important thing at this stage. I think it's what we also need to address as we go increasingly to work from home environments is that network design is going to reshape, again, the way security is managed for private corporate networks and then ultimately for service provider networks that feed into those enterprises and individual users. All of these are new worlds and new areas that need to be explored, and I'm very grateful that MEF is picking that up as an action item.
Yeah, it's really an important area. But by the way, I don't think I ever congratulated you on the Console Connect acquisition. I remember when I was doing the interview with you 3 years back, right on the MEF meeting on stage, and you made an announcement. That time it wasn't clear how Console Connect would mesh into your overall strategy. But now, 3 years later, it looked like a perfect fit. I think you had the vision to how to actually make things work.
Thanks, Nan. Just quick comments on that, because I know we're almost out of time. But number one, when we bought Console Connect, we saw the necessity of the fabric, the software-defined network capabilities as critical. But we also understood that organizationally, if we were going to be prioritizing code going forward, we would need to integrate PCCW Global into Console Connect. We had made acquisitions before, and we tried to add them onto the network. And we understood this time that actually we had to take the larger PCCW Global and integrate it into that smaller entity called Console Connect. And so often I sign off with my own colleagues in PCCW Global and Console Connect, and I say quite simply, interconnect, automate, operate, accelerate, because those are the keys. If we're able to interconnect using guidelines that MEF has put forward, but if we're able to automate, we'll be able to operate in a much more accelerated fashion and deliver value to our users and our other interconnected relationships in the ecosystem, other infrastructures, clouds, data centers, applications, and other networks. And I think that's where we're headed. Where we are with Console Connect and its distribution is moving extremely positively well. I'm very pleased with the trajectory. And now that we're launching Internet on Demand, I think it will open another vector that will demonstrate the value of a network having a fabric and a fabric having a network.
Well said. Hey, as we close up, Marc, what is some of the key development in your view as an industry can looking forward to in 2021?
I think we're still, the global economy still needs to continue focusing and managing this pandemic and how it reacts to it. If you take a look at the global statistics, country by country, in many jurisdictions, you see what they call waves. But if you stand back and you look at the global map, unfortunately, it's been a straight line up, and with quite difficult impact in many areas of the economy, not least to mention, of course, personal health, and it's impacting. So I think that we all, as a global economy, regardless of geopolitical shift, need to focus on how we emerge from this pandemic and what it has brought upon us, and ultimately figure out what is the roadmap in the ICT space as a result of it. What will be the mix that we have going forward over the next 2 to 3 years between travel and staying at home, going to the office, work from home, etc. All of these things will add complications also to our environment. Second, as things become more complex, there will be an increased demand for more automation. And I think that automation, therefore applications, whether they be at the consumer level, but certainly at the enterprise level that we often serve, these will become increasingly critical. And then how does that glue come together about all of these different applications with variant forms of infrastructure, mobile, data centers, clouds, physical networks? How does all that sew itself together? I think that there's still a lot of work to do, and thankfully MEF is an organizing framework. Same as I described to you before that we needed an organizing framework inside our company, I think that MEF is an excellent organizing framework for our industry, and therefore I'm quite pleased with that. I'm not certain that there's going to be gusto in 2021. I do believe there will be management with vision towards the end of 2021, 2022, and I'm optimistic that ICT, no matter what, will continue to play a prominent role in any direction economy will take, regardless of various geopolitical events. So I think we're at a point in time where our industry and the organizing framework of our industry is one of its most critical moments in history.
Well, with that, Marc, well said. Really great having you here at Infinite Edge. And I'm looking forward to have that glass of wine with you in 2021.
Maybe in 2021 we get to LA. That would be nice. I would love that. And Nan, I want to thank you. I want to thank your team. I want to thank Pascal, Kevin, Lori, Stan, Daniel, all of the work that's being done by the team day in and day out. It's hard, it's difficult, especially in these times. And what you're doing is really meaningful for our industry at this moment in history. PCCW Global is very grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.